All right, folks. Good morning. Looks like Desmond just joined, so welcome back. Today's class is going to be on continuation of database management, SQL. We're going to extend this into SQL statements such as insert, update, and delete. Before we proceed, any questions about the homework?
No.
Okay. Feedbacks? Any questions on the feedbacks provided on the homework?
No, I use the single quote and double quote both, so it works. So that's why I use the double quote. But I know that we should use the single quote for the characters.
Yes, and we didn't cut any points for you. So no points were taken out. I think everybody got 100, whoever submitted. All right, let's get started. So today we're going to carry on what we learned from last class into this, and it's going to be somewhat similar. I want to give you hands-on practical first before I take you to theories and concepts. I like to work kind of backward way. Once all these SQL queries are done and you are good with it, then I'm going to sum it up together and give you some concept. At that point, you will understand what I'm talking about the concepts. Also, I'm going to give you a somewhat like a formula and a chart, an easy chart that I made. It's just I made it up. It's not anywhere online found or something, but I tried to come up with a system so that you can remember all these commands and query keywords, because over a period of time and with a lot of these new queries you're learning, it can get really messy. Towards the end, I remember I forgot how to put together things, but I could remember if I reviewed it, and then I would forget it again. So I want to make sure that it doesn't happen to you. So yeah, I'll walk you through that road. But let's get started with today's class. Let me increase this here. And the commands that you're going to learn today are listed here. Mainly insert, update, and delete is going to be something huge. And even in my real world, I have not used most of these yet, and I don't see myself using them. But you never know. If you are heavily into database testing, if your work requires that, you may need to know a lot of these. Also, when you go for an interview, unfortunately, the interviewers will ask you a lot of these because they want to overshoot, even though you don't need all that skill, but they want to make sure that you have those skills, or they assume that if you have been in the market for so long, if you have 7 years of experience, then you should know what these are. So that's the whole point of me teaching you this. Now, for automation purposes, I'm just going to show you very simple stuff that you're going to be like, well, all this learning was kind of an overkill. But again, it's needed for the interview. Plus, if you know this and you want to, you get an opportunity to become more of a back-end tester where you go in and test the databases, then this will give you a pretty good solid base for that. And for those kinds of jobs, you definitely get a lot more money than just being a regular automation tester. Anyway, so here's the first one. Now, sometimes you're going to need, as a database administrator, you're going to need to insert data into the tables that we saw. For example, if we went to customers table right here, these customers, Hold on one second, please. These customers have been added as they came. So you as an administrator, you may have to add them manually, or sometimes you would, most of the times, you would have a form displayed in the web application for the customer to fill out himself. And as the customer fills out, it basically stores at the very bottom with this extra number. So let's say 91 customers is what we have the maximum in this table. If another customer is added, it's going to be 92. It's going to be down here. And yeah, it will be automatically added. But what if you wanted to manually add a customer into this table? In that case, you would need to insert data. So the syntax looks like this, is where you type in insert into. Now these two go together. You cannot split them up. So insert is basically insert into. So every time you want to insert data, it's insert into. Now, we've seen when we did select, who can tell me what was the item that we had to write right after the select keyword?
The column name.
Correct, the column name. But insert into, you don't specify the column name. You specify which table first. Okay. So insert into, immediately you go into which table. And after you specify which table, you specify which columns you want to insert into. And after you specify the columns, you specify the values with the values keyword. And in parentheses, you put the value 1, value 2, value 3, for example, for column 1. Now, these need to be in the order. For example, if you write column 1, let's say a specific column, the value that you're gonna, if that's the first column you specify, the value that you specified first is going to be replaced or inserted into that particular column. So for column 2, it's gonna be the value 2. For column 3, it's gonna be the value 3. Okay, so this particular one goes with specific columns. Now there's another way to do this. Let's say if you want to insert all data for all the columns, okay, not specific columns, but all the columns. For example, if you're in this table here, and let's say you are gonna insert everything in here, starting with the customer ID, name, contact name, address, you're not gonna skip any. In that case, what you could do is you can skip these column specification. Instead, you would just say insert into and specify what the table name is, and then go ahead and add the values. But you have to add all the values. If you don't specify all the values here or list it here, it's gonna throw you an error. So there are two syntaxes that you need to learn. One is for specific tables, specific columns for a table, and the other is you insert data for all columns. And in that case, you don't have to specify which columns. Column values and value order must match. Excuse me one second. Sorry, my kids are pretty hyper today. Here's a question we're gonna do. Insert the following into customers table. So we got this customers table here. All right, and we have this bunch of columns. The question is asking, insert only these 3. customer name, cardinal, city, Stavanger, and country Norway. So who can tell me which particular syntax do I need to use? The first one or the second one?
The first one,
Correct. Why?
because you're only putting in customer name, city, and country. So it's not all the values. So since it's specific values, you need to put in. So insert into customers, open parentheses, customer name,
Okay.
comma.
You're ahead of me. So
Sorry.
if you have the answer, let's go ahead and type that in. I was going to show you, but anyway, so I delete that. And we saw that we have 91 records. All right.
Yeah.
So let's get a little base idea of what we have already, 91 records. And if we add another one, it's going to be what? And you guys, if you don't have any background noise, like Tony, it looks like you're pretty quiet down there. You can keep your mic open and talk to me. I think back and forth communication is going to be a good practice for us. So you said insert into, and immediately you have to think about what's the table name.
Yeah, customers.
So we got customers. 1 second, move this panel from here. Insert into customers. Okay, and because we got 3 column data that we're adding, therefore we have to specify which columns inside the first bracket or parentheses. Now, column names. Okay, so it told us to do customer name, city, and country. So here we got customer name, city, and country. Okay.
Yes.
So let's spell it out the same way. Customer name, comma. Do I need quotation marks, single quotes around this column names?
I don't know. Do you?
Take a guess.
Yes.
Educated guess.
I mean, I think yes.
Actually, not necessary, because these are not real values. These are directions. You're telling the SQL to look for customer table and then go insert value there. So anytime you have text value, which is actual name, that's where you have to add the quotation. Okay? So customer name, you don't have to add quotation. City, no quotation needed. And country, you got that. Okay? Those are the 3 columns. And now you're going to add values. So values, it's plural, not singular. Again, open parenthesis, close parenthesis. While you're at it, you know this is the end of it. Go ahead and put a semicolon right now anyway. Because if you don't put a semicolon now, what happens half the time, I forget to put semicolon and hit run SQL and I get an error. So I just go ahead and put that right there. I'm done with that part. Then I go back a couple of steps. Okay, go back a couple of steps. Can you all see the screen fine? Do I need to zoom in?
No, I can see fine, yeah.
Okay, maybe a little bit zoom in and we can zoom out.
Yeah.
Okay. So here I'm going to add the values, and here's the value: Cardinal, Stavanger, Norway. So I would have to do single quote 2 of them and say Cardinal, and then put a comma. Okay. And then the next value, again, this is the value, text value, so it's going to be in quotation. And that was Stavanger. Okay. And then another comma, because another one is coming. And in here, it was Norway. Okay. So now, just hold on 1 second. Sorry about that. So, questions so far?
No questions so far, just the clarification for the value needing the quotation mark. Actual table name itself doesn't. So, but besides that, yeah.
All right. So if I now click Run SQL, it's actually, if I got it right, it's going to say one row affected. If I got it wrong, it's going to give me an error. So let's see. I just clicked on Run SQL and it told me you have made changes to the database. Rows affected, 1. When you did that, that means you got it right. Everything is good to go. Okay. Now, if I click on customers and if I look at number of records, that has changed to negative. And if I scroll all the way down, make it fun. How can I not scroll all the way down, but display 92 here? Who can give me that query?
To display 92.
See how it's displayed 1, 2, 3, 4?
I
want it to display opposite.
Oh, it's the descending.
Yeah, it's the, so you're going to do select star from customers where, oh, sorry, not where, sort by, and then,
DSC.
Order by.
yeah, order by customer ID and DESC,
Yes.
and then semicolon, yeah.
Run SQL. Now we got this customer ID sorted as descending, and here's the data that we inserted. We inserted cardinal scavenger for the city and country Norway. What's up with these?
You didn't put a value there, so it's just null.
Is now the same thing as 0?
I mean, it depends. I don't know if in this instance it is 0, is it?
No. In the computer world, 0 is actually a value.
Okay.
So,
right, so
we never use 0 for the absence of data. 0 is a very, very important data, as a matter of fact. So
got it.
the what we use is null instead of 0 that we are used to seeing in the absence of data. Just keep that in mind. Okay, so good deal.
Got it.
Now, what if I wanted to add, city first, and then contact name. Let's say country, postal code, and customer name in that particular order. Here we go. So if I did insert into customers, and here are the columns. I wanted to put country first, and then postal code. Well, let's jump around. So if I say country first, then I want to put customer name, and then I want to put postal. Let's say I wrote it this way: postal code. All right. Now, when I'm going to insert the values here, should I put the first value zip code 75062?
No.
Why not?
They have to be corresponding with however you enter them into the insert. When you put insert into customers in the parentheses, so country has to line up with the first value, customer name has to line up with the second value, and postal code with the third value, and so on. Otherwise,
That's the country first.
Yeah, we are going to have wrong data in wrong places.
Exactly.
This is going to end up being in the country place, and then whatever we have second value is going to go into the customer name. So we don't want that. So always look at which columns you have specified and what's the order. Make sure your data order or the values order is exactly same. So since I mentioned country first, over here, I'm gonna say France. Okay. And because customer name was the second item that I specified, therefore I'm gonna add customer name here, which could be John Smith. I don't know, making up something. And postal code was the last one. Therefore, I'm gonna put the postal code last and don't need this comma because I don't have another one, another value. Okay. Now, if I say run SQL, number of rows affected 1, that tells me I got it right. If I wanted to display all the records, let me take this off now. Select star from customers. And I do want to order by customer ID descending. If I do that, it's going to give me the 93 records and the very last one that I inserted, which is John Smith. There's a postal code in France. Question?
Nope.
All right, let's take a look at another one. Insert the following into customers table. Look at this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 columns here. Now, when I added this John Smith or Cardinal, did I have to add a customer ID?
No.
Then what happened? Why? How come this doesn't say null?
It has to have some sort of value, but otherwise the table won't work because you're adding another client or customer.
That's right.
So if I add another one, even if I put in just one set of data, it has to be the 94th and 95th or whatever.
Yeah, it's just how many's adding.
Yeah.
That's right. Do you think there could be a duplicate of this, like 92, 92, and then 93?
No. Well,
Should it?
it shouldn't, but I feel like it could if you mess up.
Yes, if the table, if this column wasn't set as autocomplete. So this one,
Okay.
this table, whoever built this database has set it up as auto increment. And this becomes a primary key. Now, I'm just giving you a hint. I'm going to talk about this primary key and auto increment later on and show you how to actually construct a table as a database administrator, maybe in a couple of classes, forward classes. But what happened is this column has been set in a way that there's no way in the world you can mess up and have a duplicate. And it's always going to have a incremental value, and it's never going to give you a duplicate. And you don't even have to specify customer ID. This will be automatically set for you. Okay, I don't have to say customer ID 93 and then John Smith. You don't even have to do that. So if I look at this chart right here, I got 6 column data missing the customer ID. I know that this is customer ID is set to autocomplete. That means I don't even have to specify. That means I don't even have to count this. I can only need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that's the entire table. And this question is asking me to technically insert everything, all the columns in that particular table. That means I don't have to specify the column names if I don't want to. But if I don't specify the column name, I do have to understand where these columns are set. I have to know that customer name is first, contact name is second, address is third. If I don't, then my data is going to get messed up. So with that knowledge, let's go ahead and construct this. So I'm going to insert into customers. Okay. At this time, do I need to give or specify column names?
No.
No, just the values. But can I put any value at any place?
No, it has to be corresponding with the way it appears left to right on the actual table.
Correct. So first one is Michael Jackson. Second one is Janet Jackson. So quotation. And we got Janet Jackson. Next one is the address. 1234 Road, City, Hollywood. And postal code, whatever. And country, USA. What mistake did I make?
Colon. We could put colon.
Colon?
You didn't put it in
On your-
USA.
You didn't put the semicolon.
The
The
quotation.
quotation mark.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. So now if I run SQL and it's telling me could not prepare statement, table customers has 7 columns but 6 values were supplied. Well, guess what? This particular one is going to make me do that. So if I run it again and it's telling you table customer, let me zoom in.
So you have to put in the 95 for this one?
Yeah, but I guess this is only for this particular.
But normally it wouldn't, you don't need to.
Normally, if it's an autocomplete, you don't have to because it will add automatically. But this is designed in a little peculiar way, and it's a web application, so it doesn't always work the same way database
Yeah.
applications are supposed to work. So let's go ahead and do that anyway. But you know that when you go work for a company, you can skip this if that is allowed. So now we got a problem because we need to know exactly which number is already there. Let me try a duplicate. We know 93 was there. Let's see what happens. It gives you an error. Could not execute statement due to a constant failure. 19 unique constant constraint fail customers that not a good feedback. So this not the greatest thing. If we now do 94, we know there's no 94 customer ID, and it's happy. 1 row affected. If we look at the customers and order by sending. You can use parentheses and I can. Order by column name descending customer ID. By customer ID descending, we got 94 and all these records.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One more. This one here. Insert the following into categories table. We got category ID 10, category name French, and description, several food items. So here's the categories table. And this is what we have: category ID, category names, and description. So, Shobuz, what do I start with?
Categories, customer name and description. Sorry, category name.
What's the first keyword that we need to insert data?
Insert
insert,
And then
into.
yeah, insert into.
Insert into, and we have to specify a table name,
Yeah,
which
table.
is category.
Categories.
So categories. And now we got category ID, category name, and description. Do we have all three of those?
Yeah.
Therefore, we don't have to specify the columns in here. We're
Yeah.
going straight into values. And in the values, we have first one, Sopalanion. Lonion. Not like that. I don't know if I'm spelling this correctly, but who cares? And then we got coq au vin, cajolet, and soufflé. Coq au vin, cajolet, and soufflé. Okay, and run the query.
No, I think you need to do the values.
What mistake did I make?
If you go back to that query.
I did not insert 10 or
Yeah.
French, and I just added these 4 items,
Yes.
going like, well, you got 3 columns, but you added 4 values. I don't know where to put it. Okay, so we gotta kind of mix this up a little bit. Here's what we have to do.
So do you put all these within one set of quotation marks with their own independent parentheses or independent commas?
Yes.
Because, okay.
Yes. So when you have something like that, you don't want to, because the whole thing is going to go inside one cell. So in that case, you don't want to put comma in between. So what you're going to do is you're going to take this comma off. Sorry, you can put the comma, but you don't need to close quote right here.
Yeah.
See that? You take this quote off. You are going to keep this very first quote and the last quote. And you can have comma in between, that's fine. But you cannot close them individually. So you can have it just like that. Okay? And because that's going to go into the very last cell, that has to be placed in the last one. And the value for the first one has to go here, and the second one goes here. So for the first one, we got category ID 10, and I need to put 10 right here. Okay. Now this is, do I need to add quotation around this number?
Yeah.
No.
If the column is set as a numeric value, you don't have to.
Oh, yeah.
But sometimes the column, even if it's a number that you have to put in, if the database administrator set that column as a string or a text value like this, in that case, you do have to put quotation. So let's try this without the quotation first. Second was country French. So category name, country French. If it's a string, if it's I don't want to use the word string yet because I haven't taught you what string is. But when you get to Java, it's going to be all about string. If it's a text, you know France is a text. For sure, that's going to be a text value, and you have to put inside quotation for sure. Okay? All right. How's it looking? Good?
Yes.
Run it. One row affected. That means that particular data that column was set as numeric column, and without quotation, it was fine. Now let's take a look at categories and see if we got this information down. We got 10, France, and everything we added is in here, including the comma that we added. But because it was encapsulated with the quotation, it didn't separate this per columns. Question?
Nope.
All right. Here is a practice for you. So get your pen and paper ready. Here's the first question. Go ahead and write the SQL. Take 45 seconds. Let's take a minute for the first one. Or if you need longer, just let me know. Anybody needs more time?
No,
I'm
I
good.
did.
Any volunteer?
Yeah, I can go.
Go ahead.
So it's insert into employees as the table name, open parentheses and close parentheses. So in the parentheses, you're going to put employee ID, since employee ID is first value, then comma last name, comma first name, then down to your values, open parentheses, close parentheses, put your semicolon. Within the parentheses, you're going to put 11. You don't need quotation marks since it's a numerical value, comma, open quotation mark, cruise, close quotation mark, comma, open quotation mark, Tom, close the quotation mark, execute.
Okay. Should have typed it in while you were saying it, but let's do it right now. Insert into employees.
Yep.
So 11, no quotation needed?
There shouldn't be if it's a numerical value.
Cruise. And run it.
Mm-hmm.
One row affected. And if we go to employees, go all the way down. And there's your
Yep.
record. Very good. Anybody has any questions?
No.
All right. Next one. Take a minute. Desmond, you're going to go next.
They should be from the categories table, right? Not
Correct.
the employees
I
table.
was just about to say that this is supposed to be categories table. So thank you for pointing out. Let me see if I can make real-time changes. Probably not going to work. No, it's not going to work. It's okay. Just change that to categories table.
It's okay. We get it.
There's gonna be an insert into
Let me type that in. Go ahead. Insert into.
categories,
Okay.
then the bracket,
Mhm.
and then inside the bracket, I'll have to put what was that? Yeah, category ID, categories name, and description.
Category ID. Category.
Categories name, comma, then description, then values.
Mhm.
And category ID is 10. Well, what was that? Yeah, then the boozy,
Booze.
booze, okay, then comma,
And let's put all of this inside.
all of it. Yeah.
Good. Martini. Juicy Lucy. Sand in the Crack. That's actually a cocktail name, by the way. Martini.
You got to make one day.
It's made out of coconut rum. Martini.
Comma,
What was the other one? Juicy Lucy. And... Okay.
I think you need to take out the quotation from Martini.
Right here. I spelled it wrong. Notice here. Insert should be an R. And this will help you kind of with the color coding, telling you that there's some mistake here. If it doesn't light up, that means something wrong. So if I put an R, notice it turns blue. Now if I run the SQL, could not execute statement due to a constraint failure, 19 unique constraint fail, categories.category ID. Okay, so it's all this jargon, and you're going to face a lot of these error types when you go to Java. But what it's pointing you to is categories.category ID, meaning this category ID right here. So something wrong here. Okay, so we know that it's pointing us to this particular point. Who can tell me what do you want to try next with this?
The quotation mark on the 10.
Correct. So if you see that and you're like, I added quotation mark here, I didn't add it here, maybe that particular field is supposed to be a text. Then let's give it a try and see if that works. Hit it. Could not execute statement due to category ID. Did I spell anything wrong? That's the only thing I'm thinking. So let's go back in here. Category ID.
Category name.
All right, let's
Description.
do this again. insert into categories, categories, and category ID, category name, description. These are case sensitive, so if I put a lowercase d, it's gonna give me an error. Values, and we had 9 records. Oh, you see that? We already had a 10 right here.
You gotta put 11. Okay, got it.
We have to have 11. So now let's leave the quotation out. Okay, just leave it at that. And run SQL, now it's happy. So that number 1 was an issue. Let's try to see if we can skip that number 1 and if that works without it. If it's set at autocomplete, it should work. And I'm not even gonna specify anything in here. Well, I could specify. I could just say that. That will be one way to do that. And I could say Asian. And chow mein. Spring roll. And if I say run SQL, it works. Row affected, 1. I did not have to specify category ID because it did realize that it's incremental 1, so it added itself 1. We got the Asian in that. And what if I wanted to say insert into categories and not even say which columns? This is, I don't like not to specify columns because it actually makes it difficult for me because I have to go in there and make sure, look at the table. But if I specify the columns, I don't even have to look at the table and know how many columns there are. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I ran into the same thing as well.
Yeah, so if they give me a question to answer and I don't know how the table looks like, and chances are when they give you an interview question, they might over the phone, you don't see the table. They're just gonna give it to you verbally and you have to write it down first. You can't have the answer on the spot. You have to write it down and say, please give me a few minutes or please give me a minute. And then you synthesize the information and then you write up your SQL query, read it, make sure it's correct, then you deliver it over the phone that this is the query I got. But anyway, so even though you can do this without specifying column names here, and if let's say I leave the category out, is it going to complain? So I'm going to put category name here. It might complain for this particular stuff. Indian cuisine, and you got pita bread and curry. If I do that, yeah, it's not happy. But if I add without the quote, I know 11 was there. What about 12? Run SQL, not happy. 13. happy because 12 was already added. What if I do a random one? 20. Yep, still good. Okay. So this category ID is not set at increment, but it doesn't let you duplicate. Okay. You can jump and add an extra column in there with the extra row with a different row number. So if it was set at auto increment, in that case, it's not going to let you go in and jump to number 20. So that's fine. But you get the idea. Any question?
No, yeah, I was gonna ask you that question earlier. Like, can we set it to like, customer ID 1 million? Would it change anything as long as it's higher than 13? But now we got the answer.
It doesn't let you duplicate though.
Yeah, no duplicates, but you can put anything higher, whatever number you want.
Yeah, and again, you can set the property of this column to the way you want. So if you, let's say you didn't want somebody to go in and put 1 million right here, you can set the property of this column to auto increment, and it's not gonna let anybody go in and put an arbitrary incrementation. So those options are there, but those are gonna be next few classes later on. All right. I do have this one. This has been set to auto increment. So we should be able to do this. Insert following data into employees table. So I thought well, this one specified the column names. So anyway, take a minute to go ahead and give me the query for this one. Haley, you're next.
Is it the employees table or the customers table?
Yeah, it's a customers table. Sorry, it's a typo.
Okay, just checking.
Let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready.
Okay, go ahead.
So it's going to be insert into customers, open parentheses, customer name, comma, city, comma, country, close parentheses.
Hold on.
And then, okay, sorry.
All right. Insert into spelling mistake again here. Customers, what was the columns?
Customer name, comma, city, comma, country,
Okay.
comma.
We did this one, I think, right?
Yeah, I was like, I think we've done this one.
Okay. Hope you didn't copy from the other one.
No.
Right.
And then values, open parentheses, and then the single quote, cardinal.
Yeah, give me a different set of names because we already have those names there.
Okay. So for customer name, we can just do Tony.
Sure. Why not?
City, Grapevine. Very creative.
Yep.
Country, USA.
and country USA. And mistake right here.
Oh, yeah. Or did I put no?
Run it. Still mistake.
One.
Customers.
Customers.
Typing error. One row affected. Notice how many times I made a mistake, and it's totally okay for you to make mistakes on typing. And what you need to know is how to correct it. So nobody, I don't think I have anybody in my company that I've noticed that was able to give me a query off the top of their head. They always took a minute to write down the question and then come up with it. And if they wrote it down, chances are if I copy pasted that, it's gonna come up with some sort of error. So what they do is they go into these kinds of software that they have, which I've had you install, MySQL. I'll show you later. And it works exactly the same way. Just doesn't look it looks differently, but it works the same way. And if you had an error, it's going to tell you where it could be. So they will fix that, and then they will copy it from there, and then give it to you, and say, hey, you can use this query to get this information for your testing purposes. Okay, so it's totally okay. Don't make yourself feel like, oh, I'm making so many mistakes. Why does it take me so long? Maybe I'm not good at it. Don't. I don't think I've seen anybody in the industry that amazingly good that would type up stuff on the spot and without any errors. No, it doesn't happen. Anyway, one row affected, and if we look into customers, it's gonna be all the way down. And there we go. Grapevine, I entered it twice, so it went in there 2 times. Okay. But any questions about insert into?
Mm-mm.
All right.
Nope.
Let's take 5 minutes break. We'll come back and do update and delete. Everybody here?
Yep, we're here.
Yes.
Okay. What if I wanted to find out if there's any null values, or if I wanted to display any kind of null values, or say display and skip the null values? Is there a way to do that? Yes. The answer is yes. Optional field. Some fields you don't have to add any values to it. Like we saw, we didn't add values, and computer added the word null on the cell. It is totally allowed for cells that are not primary key, and about that we'll do in the next class. But you can skip certain values or leave them blank. Now, null is not the same thing as 0. So we can't put 0 because I don't have the data. No, because 0 is the data. You can skip it, but don't put 0. Okay. 2 keywords that will give you or helps you work with null values. One is called isNull. If you use this keyword isNull, you can actually display some data that has a null value in it. A real world application could be you are a database administrator and you don't want null value for, let's say, address. Okay, address must have some value, but you did not specify that column as a primary key, so people are just skipping the address, and you're now going in there and you're trying to delete those records that doesn't have the address. So how are you going to find those records that does not have any data? You can use this called isNull. Okay, and if you also wanted to display something for your executives, let's say, and you didn't want to display null data, you could use this negative one called isNotNull. And this is gonna sip out or skip all the data that has null value in it, and only gonna give you that has data in it. Let's take a look at an example. Here's the first one. We're going to display null values from customers for address column. Okay. So we know that in this customers, we added a bunch of stuff and we did not add address, like this one. These records that we added, these don't have address right here. So if I wanted to, I didn't want to scroll down on the table, I just wanted to find out which ones don't have data. What you can do is first, Shobuz, tell me what's the keyword that we use in SQL to display a table?
Select.
Correct. So anytime I want to display something, I'm going to start with the word select. And let's say I want to display everything. Okay. And next, you have to specify from where. We're going to say customer. Customers. Okay. And this, now you have to specify a condition. This goes with which keyword do we use when we specify or filter out data?
Where?
Correct. Where? So select star from customers, where, and now remember where, whenever we put a condition, it's a 3-part thing. It starts with the column name, then an operator, okay, and then a value. So it is kind of like that. We first start with the column name. Here we wanted to find the null data for address. So we're going to say address, which is like that. Okay. But we don't have an operator. Instead of the operator, we also don't have a value. Instead of the operator and the value, is just gonna be is null.
Okay.
Okay? Because this is null is gonna cover both of those things, the operator and the value. Now if I say run the query, it's gonna give me all the data for the address column where it's gonna give me is null or has null data or no data in it. Okay? Any question?
Nope.
If I wanted to, let's say, display data without these null, because I want to present it to my executives, something like this. And if I present this table and customers see this or executives see this, doesn't look good. So I want to display a table in a way that I'm going to skip this. All you have to do,
Put a not.
put a not, correct. So select start from customers, where address is not null. Done. Now if I say run SQL, notice I got 92 records, less than what I had. Over here, it tells me that I have 96 records. Okay, let me get this pen up here. Excuse me one second. Yep, 96 records total, but it displays 92. If I were to scroll down, I don't have any null data displayed. It skipped it out. That's all for now. Next, we're gonna move on to update. Now, the difference between insert and update is when we inserted data for a brand new row, meaning we did not mess up with any of the existing data, and we added a data, it ended up at the very bottom of the table. It did not interfere with the existing data. Update is something different. Update is when you don't want to add a new set of data, but you want to change a data that you already have. Okay? So the syntax looks like this, kind of like the insert into, where you have to put the keyword and the table first. And this time, you don't have to specify the columns here. You say update the table name, and the next part is the set keyword. After typing set, you go straight to the column name you want to update and the value. Column name, value, and put a comma in between, and you can keep on doing that. Now, one thing very important, you have to put a where condition. Okay? If this is where the SQL will understand exactly where you want to go and update. For example, if I wanted to update this Willman Kala to, let's say, Stein purification, I need to tell SQL that I need to go to this customer ID 90 and then go change it there. Okay, there has to be something unique about, and the only unique thing about this table is these customer IDs that are unique. There's no duplicate. Okay, so I need to specify customer ID 90 and go change this name to Stein purification. Okay. If I don't say where, it's going to change all of these names to Stein purification. Does that make sense? So, so two things you have to understand, that the where clause specifies which record should be updated. And if you skip the where clause, it will update all records. So you got to be very, very careful. Here's an example. So let's do this together. We got update contact name to Alfred Smith and city to Frankfurt for customer ID 1 in customers table. Let's take a look at customers table. Here's our customers table. There's that first customer ID 1. We need to change this to Alfred Smith. What? Alfred Smith and city Frankfurt. So not Alfred's Futterkist, I don't know how to pronounce it. And city instead of Berlin is going to be Frankfurt, right? So with said that, our first thing we're going to type in is update. We're not going to say insert into. Why again? Because insert adds a new set of data. We're not adding a new set of data, we're replacing one. Okay, replace, SQL word for replaces update. So update, we have to specify the table name. In this case, it's customers. Okay. And if you remember, if we did insert into customer name, our next keyword was values. But for update, it's not values, it's, we say set. Okay. Update customers, set, and this is where we specify which column name and what to set. Okay. So I want to change this customer name to Alfred Smith. So I'm going to say customer name equals, because this is value, it's going to go into quotation, and it's going to be Alfred, because somebody made a mistake there. Alfred Smith, that should be the correct name. And city should have been Frankfurt, but it's Berlin. You have to comma this out and then write city equals Berlin, Frankfurt. Okay. Now, if I put a semicolon here and run the SQL query, what's the problem that I can hit into?
It's going to replace every single value with Alfred Smith and Frankfurt for city and name.
Correct. I'm going to mess up the entire table and I'll lose all the records for all these people. Everybody is going to say customer name, Alfred Smith, and all the cities are going to convert into Frankfurt. Don't want that. So you got to be very, very careful with the update. You have
That's
to specify. Scary. Yeah, it's very scary. So now, luckily, if I hit run SQL, it's going to do it right here in the software. But in real world, it's not going to do it right away. You have to place another command called commit. If you don't commit to that, it's not going to do that. So there's a fail-safe situation there that you can't mess up. Also, there's something called rollback, which I'm going to cover in the next classes, where if you made some recent changes, you should be able to roll back to your previous condition. So more of that coming up next classes. But right now, I'm going to say where customer ID is equal to 1. So if I say customer ID is equal to 1, Jasmine, do I need to add quotations around 1?
No,
Why not?
there's a number.
Because it's a number, correct. So with this customer ID 1, SQL knows this is where I need to focus my eyes, and I need to update customer name, which is this column, that data, to Alfred Smith, and city, this data, Berlin, to Frankfurt. Okay, so let's go ahead and run the SQL query. Done. 1 row affected. That means you got it right. If I go back to customers, notice customer name changed to Alfred Smith, and city changed to Berlin. Any question?
Nope.
Another example. Update last name to Jackson, where first name is Michael, for employees table. So let's go in here. Do I have a Michael Jackson in here? No. Let's do this. Let's take this one. So we got Cruz and Tom, and instead of Cruz and Tom, we're gonna update this to I don't know, Michael Jackson.
Got it.
Or let's take this one. West, Adam West. We're gonna change this Adam West to Adam Sandler. All right.
Okay.
So let's see how that works. Let's go back up here. Let's formulate this together. First word, update. We have to specify the table name, which is employees. Okay. We have to set the value. We have to set, what are we changing here? We're going to change
Last name.
last name, which is West. So last name, set last name equals Sandler,
Sandler.
S-A-N-L-E-R. Sandler. And am I done
Yep.
here?
No, you got to put the where condition.
Okay, let's put where condition. And this time, yeah, I could put a where condition with this number 10, but I can also put a where condition for this West. So how would I write that?
Can you set a where condition to almost anything on that?
Yes.
So like you could be an Adam, it could be West, it could be the 19280919 or the anything, any of those data sets.
Anything.
Okay.
But you got to
This
be
is-
careful. You have to be careful because let's say if you choose, let's say, this column here,
Mm-hmm.
an old chump. If there's anywhere else there's the same data available, like let's say this data was here,
It'll pull it.
it's also going to change this last name into Sandler.
Got it.
So you have to find something unique about that particular column. Now, in some cases, like next example you're going to see, we're going to change multiple names in multiple rows. But this particular one, I just want where this guy is a West. But again, West is not a good option because this West, there could be some other people that have their last name West. And everybody's last name is going to change to Sandler. Make sense?
Yeah, makes sense.
Therefore, companies, they always have a unique ID for every single customer, for every single connection, for every single bundle, for every single site, you name it. Every table has something unique about every single record so that you can perform these kinds of operations. Now, ideally, you would be using this number, but I just want to show you that we can also do it by last name. So here I'm going to say where last name, and I can look at the column number name right here, which is last name, equal to West. And if I do this and now hit run SQL, one row affected. If I go to employees, scroll all the way down, that Adam doesn't have the last name West anymore. It got changed to Sandler. Good?
Yep.
Okay. Move on to the next. So can I update multiple records with the same SQL query? The answer is yes. Here's a question. Update contact name to Jose for all records where country is Mexico. So let's take a look at it. If I go to customers table, if they don't specify table name, like this one doesn't tell me which table name. Fear not, go in here and try to use intelligence to figure out which table it could be.
Mhm.
So I know that it's asking me to change names and then where country is Mexico. So this column has the country and the name. Yeah, it will work for me. I got this Mexico there too. So yeah, that means the question is asking me to do something ridiculous, which is take every single record that has the country Mexico, change the name to Jose. All right, here's a Mexico right here. That's also gonna get changed to Jose. All right, just for the sake of it, learning, we're gonna do this, but I don't think this is a good example. Nobody will in real world do that. So, update the table name, customers. We're gonna say set. What are we changing? What are we updating? This is where you need to answer that. We're updating the customer name. Customer name equal to, and what are we updating with? Jose.
Yep.
Okay. Now, if I hit enter now, it's going to change everybody's name with Jose. We don't want that.
Mhm.
But we want to just change multiple records, meaning all the Mexico guys, we want them to call Jose, which is pretty racist, in my opinion. So where country equals, and here, if I say Mexico, and now if I execute this query, all of the Mexico is gonna get changed to Jose. So let's go and do this. Let's say a prayer before I do that. All right, not very many, but 5 rows affected. Let's check it out. Before I check it out, yeah, let me just click here. So here's a Mexico, and
Yeah,
there's
Jose's.
Jose. There's a Mexico, Jose. All right. Tony, give me a query just to display all columns, all records with just country Mexico.
All columns with just country Mexico.
Yes.
So select, then you're gonna put country.
Mm-mm. No, it's just
Select.
all columns. So select all columns,
Sorry.
which is what? What symbol?
All column star
Good.
from customers where
Good. Keep going.
country equals open quotation Mexico,
Correct.
then
Correct. And in the interview, you don't have to say open quote, close quote,
Okay.
and semicolon unless they ask you for it. Now, there are some recruiting agents that are going to interview over the phone. These guys don't really know SQL queries. They have a sheet of paper with question and answer. And if you don't give them the quotation or the semicolon, they think you got it wrong. Okay. But if you go face-to-face interview with somebody who works in the field, they don't expect you to give them the quotation and semicolon. But if you have an amateur there and you ask you, well, how do you end the query, then you know what he's looking for. In that case, you tell him, okay, it's pretty obvious. You just say it's pretty obvious to put semicolon. That's why we don't say it. But if you need me to, I'll go ahead and say that. Okay. Now, if I run this
Yeah.
query, we got 5 Mexico. And with me, you don't have to specify quotations anymore because I know you got it. And also, you don't have to say semicolon. Okay.
Mhm.
All of these got me, Jose. Good. Bless you.
Yep. Good.
All right. Can I update all records? Answer is yes. So update contact name to Jose for all records. Oh man. Do we want to do that? Here's customers. And if I go in here and say update customers, set contact name equals Juan, and I don't put any kind of where clause in it and run the SQL query, it's going to affect
I'll update everything.
every single rows and records is going to get changed. Now, if I look at customers, notice everybody became 1. Okay. Easy? Okay.
Easy and scary.
Right. The good thing is there's this button here. It's called Restore Database, so you can bring it back to the original settings. So go for it. Mess up the whole thing, and then click on Restore Database. It's gonna fix things for you. This is how you're gonna learn. I want you to mess it up. Anyway, next, delete. Now, delete is something that is there, and you want to delete that. Delete a record. Okay. So here's how syntax looks like. You say delete from. Okay, so delete immediately from, specify the table name, and you put a where condition. Now you can probably understand what would happen. Take a guess what would happen if you didn't put where condition.
I'll delete everything
It will delete everything. It will
in that
delete
table. Yeah.
the whole entire table is going to be blank. So you have to put a where condition. So where clause specifies exactly which record, just like we did the update. And leaving the where clause out will delete everything. So don't do that unless you need to. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to delete Alfred's, whatever the last name is, footer keys from customer table. I think I need to reset this. So let's restore the table because we updated that. And I restored it. There's that customer back in there. And we're going to delete this particular record from here. So I want this deleted where the customer name is Alfred Futterkist. So we're going to use this syntax right here. We're going to say delete from table name, where, and the condition. So let's do that. delete from customers. And here's my condition where customer name equals Alfred's. If I don't spell it correctly, it's not gonna know which one. And it has to be case sensitive as well. So double checking Alfred's. Looks good, semicolon, and run SQL query. One row affected, that's what I want. Go back to the customers, check it. That number 1 record is gone. Now we have 90 records from 91 records. Good? Next, delete Chase from products. Let's take a look at products.
Okay.
Here's products table. Product name, Chase. These are the stuff that they sell. And the company no longer selling Chase. So we want to delete this entire record from this table. So go for it if you want to take a shot at.
Delete from products where product name equals Chase.
Good. That's it. So if I run this query, go back to products. That number 1 is gone. It starts with number 2. Okay. Here's a practice. Take a minute. Delete exotic liquid from suppliers. And here's the suppliers table. Exotic liquid is supplier name. Okay. So delete this record for me. Take a minute to write me the statement. Shobuz, you will answer this one.
Okay, it's a delete from suppliers.
Oh, you're done already?
Yeah.
Okay, hold on. Let's give it like 20 seconds for the rest to figure out first. Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's a delete from suppliers where suppliers name equal to exotic liquid semicolon.
Good?
Yeah.
It's gone. Anybody has any questions?
Nope, pretty easy.
Okay. delete all records from orders. So here's the orders table. I want to delete everything. In that case,
Nowhere.
you don't have to put where. So you want to go, Tony?
Yeah, delete from order semicolon execute.
Yep, that's it. And I execute 196 records got deleted. If I go back to orders, notice there's 0 right now and no results found. That table is gone. Restore database is back to 196. Okay. All right. Moving on to the next is these keywords that I left out. I realized that after I assigned you the homework, I didn't go over this keyword called limit.
Yeah, me and Haley were on that for like 10 minutes. We're like, how do we make this work? Then we read the comment. I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
I am so sorry. I had
Also,
yeah. I was gonna tell you that, hey, I have something there and you need to Google this out because I wanted you to Google it out a little bit, get your hands dirty on those because we as software engineers, we don't have books anymore, guys. What you're learning here, SQL, yeah, you got books for that. But later down the road, when I'm going to teach you Selenium, some amateur folks wrote some books. It's horrible. I have a couple of them, and I try to read and it makes sense. It's horrible. But really, the superstars in Selenium or these latest technologies, they may or may not have a video on YouTube. You may be lucky, may not, but you really have to work with these guys. And often what they do is they go through different conferences and they have like seminars and they're very expensive. So my boss learned Selenium from one of those guys that built Selenium. And so he had that firsthand experience from this guy. And I have experience from my boss teaching me ins and outs of it. So that's how I got it. And I found that was the best knowledge that I got. The books and the videos are wishy-washy and not complete and not great. So anyway, you have to Google things most of the time. You're going to find a lot of community sites where they're going to a lot of blogs you have to read. That's what's going to become your go-to person in tech field going forward. And if you're lucky, you're going to find somebody who had those skills and will be willing to train you. If not, you have to fill in the gaps of knowledge through internet. Okay. So anyway, but you did very well, guys. You guys figured out that you had to put limit and then put a number. A lot of the times in real world, there's a lot of data in the tables. In real table, I'll show you towards the end in my company how it looks like. And you don't want to scroll through like a million data, but you want to check something. You want to just maybe display a handful of records to check something. So this limit thing comes in pretty handy. Unfortunately, because the limit keyword is not ANSI standard or American Institution for Standardization. It's not a standard for them. That means different softwares have different ways of limiting things. For example, the one you did is good for SQL Server. MySQL. No. For Oracle, sorry. For Oracle, you can have this keyword says limit and then you put a number and that works. But for SQL Server, if you say limit and then put a number, it doesn't work. You have to use the keyword top number and then like top 10 or top 15. You can also specify a percent, which I'm going to show you with SQL Server, which is a little extra tool that they have. For MySQL, you have to specify the row num, and this row num is a built-in keyword. Every single row is assigned a row num, even if you don't have a column called row num. The table is gonna be assigned a row num, and then you could say I want like less than 10, and it's gonna give you 10. Let's take a look at some examples. Here's the first one. Question. Display first 3 records from customers. Okay, so if I were to use SQL Server, I would say select top and put a number, because 3 records, I would say top 3 from customers. I don't need a where condition, but if you want to go farther, you can go to where condition. But at minimum, if I wanted to display 3 records, I would say select top 3 from customers. Okay. If I wanted to use Oracle, I would say select star from customers, and then at the very end, say limit 3. Like, yeah. Now all of these might actually work here. So let's check it out. Because the W3 School tried to combine everything, and it's kind of a hit or miss, but I think this might work. I haven't tried it yet. Let's see. Select top 3 star, meaning all columns, from customers. If I execute this, it doesn't work. Okay, so we can't use SQL Server commands in W3 School. But what if the other one? I know the limit works. So what about row num? If I say row num, if I say select star from customers, where row num all uppercase is less than or equal to, I don't think this is going to work either, less than or equal to 3. Nope, it doesn't recognize. So looks like we're just going to be using Oracle principles in W3 School, which we're going to say limit 3. And now that recognizes. Okay. Question?
Nope.
Just be aware that the interviewer might specify how would you limit number of records to display for MySQL. Okay. And honestly, when I went into the job market, if they asked me that question, I wouldn't know. Because the presenter that taught us didn't teach us well, and they didn't have enough good notes, and B, I didn't study well. So I would have done miserably. And as a matter of fact, I missed a couple of questions on the SQL. I underestimated that there could be questions. Anyway, I hope that's not going to be your case. Display first 3 records from customers for USA. You can also put multiple conditions, and you've done this before. Here's customers, and there's USA, several USA right there. Okay, USA. Let's see how many. So select star from customers where country equals USA. And if I display that, it gives me 13 records. All of these are USA. If I wanted to only see 3, let's say there's millions of those, and I just wanted to see 3 records or 10 records or 5. Limit 5. Run, and it's gonna give me 5 records. Okay, pretty easy. And you all got this, figured it out. That's very nice. The next concept I want to show you is called alias. But let's take 5 minutes. It's 11 o'clock. So if you need to use the restroom or get a cup of coffee, I know I'm going to get a cup of coffee right now. So we'll come back after 5 minutes and talk about alias. Are you all back?
Yeah, we're back.
Yeah.
So alias is in SQL is something like a given name or a fake name, and it was developed because a lot of the times I don't want to display something called customer name or the way it is postal code. It's all together. I wanted to make it more readable. Maybe I didn't want the column name to be called customer ID. I just wanted to call it ID. So I want to have the um, option when I display this table. I want that option to be able to change the name of the column or even change the name of the table when I wanted to display it to my presenters. Now, the weirdest thing is these column names are very tricky in the real world. These are not that bad. Customer name, there's no space. Notice there's no space here. That looks ridiculous. Why can't they have a space here? Well, unfortunately, column names cannot have spaces in SQL. They have to be all one. They can have symbols, but they cannot. Underscore is what they typically use, but no. But good news is I am able to display data with a table name I want and with a column name I want from this table. Okay. Here's how it happens. So if I use the word as, select table name and say as, I can put the alias name, meaning the name of the table I want. Sorry, the name of the column I want it to display as. This one, I'm changing the name of the table. If I say select columns from table, and then if I put as right after the table name, and then specify a name, that becomes the replacement for the table name that I have been displaying. Okay, so we're going to practice that. But here's the gist of it. Alias is used to give a table or a column in a table a temporary name. Now, again, this name doesn't stick. You're not changing the table at all. You're just changing how it's going to display to you only one time when you execute that query. When you're done with that query, the whole thing is gone back to how it was before. So you're not really making any permanent change. Okay, so it's gonna stay during the query. Here's a question. Let's see if we can do that. Display customer ID as ID and customer name as just customer. It's not gonna say customer name. Let's see how we're gonna do that. Here's the table. Here's my customer ID. I wanted to display all of this with just called ID. And here's customer name. All of this should display just by column name. So for me to do that, I will go here and say select. If that's the column I want to display first, I have to give it the name. I have to call that name out. Customer ID. Okay, so select customer ID, meaning display customer ID. And I don't want this name called customer. I want to call it as ID. Okay. All right. Do I need to put quotation around it?
No,
Why not?
because it's a set. It's not a value. It's one of those set things in the table.
Awesome. Very good. It's column name. It's not value. I'm just changing the column name, so no quotation needed. The next one is display customer name. And I don't want you to display customer name as the column name. I want you to change it as just name. Simple, readable for my users. Okay? What do I need to finish with now?
From table name.
Correct. From customers. Okay? If I display this now, if I execute this query, it's gonna give me, Shobuz, it's gonna display how many columns?
In 3 column.
Try again.
2 columns, sorry.
2 columns.
Customer ID and customer name.
Right. So this as kind of gives it away for me. So customer ID as, and this comma, the comma separates it. Here's my first column that's gonna get displayed, and there's my second column gonna get displayed. And if there was another comma, then I would know there will be a third one, but there isn't one. So 2 columns right here, 91 records. I got ID, which is the same as customer ID, but got displayed as ID. And customer name got displayed as name. Okay? Any question?
Nope.
Okay. That's alias. Now I could also change this customer's table as something, let's say something. The thing is, I don't get to see it in here because this W3 School doesn't tell you the table name in here at all. So if I did that query, I won't see any change. But if you did it in a real query, they do display the table name on top before they give you the data, so you will see it change there. But we're not going to use it much in this case, but you will see that we'll be using this to change the column names, because that is what we see when we see it. So okay, one other thing is display customer name as customer and contact name as contact name. Notice there's a space here on contact name. So let's see how that's going to work. Question is customer name as customer and contact name as contact person. So select. Let's look at the table again. Customer name. So select customer name as customer, comma, and contact name, we're going to name it as contact person. Contact name as contact person from customers. Immediately there is a problem that there is this space here. Okay. Column names cannot have spaces. But if you want to have one, if you want to display this, you have to put this whole thing in square bracket. So open square bracket and close square bracket here. Let's see if I forgot the square bracket. Is that going to be a problem? For SQL, when SQL is trying to understand this, the moment you say contact name as, he is going to accept a space and go to the next word, and he's gonna stop right here when he sees a space. Okay, so his execution stops right here. He doesn't understand what you said right there, person. So let me run it and see what the error message is gonna be. It says could not prepare statement. One near person. Syntax error, meaning this person right here, he's thinking you're supposed to say from. He doesn't understand that this person should be the same as contact person as that alias or a nickname you want to give that table. Make sense?
Yep.
So he's thinking this is a syntax error. You forgot to write from, and he because he found an error, he doesn't even want to read any farther. He doesn't even want to go and see, oh, what's the next word? Oh, you got the from red there. First sign of mistake, the execution stops, doesn't care what you wrote next. Okay? But if you put the square bracket, then the SQL executor knows, oh, start right here and stop right there, and everything in between will become the nickname or the alias with the keyword as. Then it's going to start looking for a from, and it's going to find it. And it's going to be happy. Run it. There you go. There's customer, and contact name became contact person, and you are able to put a space there for your audience's readability purposes. Question about alias?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Next concept is minimum, maximum. Now, there's a whole lot of functions that you can use in SQL databases, and it's important that you know this. And companies use this quite a bit. As a matter of fact, software engineers sometimes need to take the minimum of data, maximum of data to display something. For example, price line. You want to search by minimum or maximum. You want to sort the flight from lowest price to highest price, and they do these kinds of SQL queries to go into the American Airlines database and pull those data out for you and display it. So these SQL queries with minimum, maximum, average, sum are being heavily used by the backend developers to display those data for you. You just need to know how to use it. As you know, min is short for minimum, max is short for maximum. Minimum will return the smallest, maximum returns the largest. You all know that. Here's how it works. The syntax is first select, because you want to display, and minimum in this open parenthesis and close parenthesis, you have to specify which column data you want to find the minimum of. And then the rest is same old from table and where condition. Okay. If you wanted to find maximum, you just replace that minimum with open close parenthesis to maximum. Okay. Now, any questions about the syntax?
Nope.
Then let's do an example. Display smallest and largest price from products table. Let's take a look at product table. There's products, and there's the price. Okay. And there's $18, $19, 21.3435. Okay. There's $62. We want to find 123. I don't have the time to go through this 1,000 records to find what's the minimum and maximum, you can just do a command and get it. So select, let's say I want minimum. So you type in min, open parenthesis, close parenthesis, and inside the parenthesis, you have to specify which column, and in this case, it's price. You have to spell it exactly the way the column name is, which is price. And now you have to specify from where. From products. That's it. Hit enter, run the SQL, and it gave you the minimum price is $2.50. Okay. If you wanted to change, well, let's do the maximum first. So all I have to do is change this minimum to a max price from products and run the query. It's gonna give me max price, which is $263. Now, I don't like the way this looks. This just tells me max price is like a bracket, kind of like a mathematical function, but I don't want to display it this way to my audience. I want to change how this displays. So pop quiz, spiral back. How do I change this column name to, let's say, maximum or the largest or the highest price? Let's say highest price.
Alias.
Yes. Tell me where to write what.
So, like combine both alias and the min or the max.
Correct. So where should I position that alias keyword, which is as?
So select max price, then afterwards as, and then whatever highest price. So highest price. You're gonna have to put those in square brackets if you put the
Perfect.
space. Yeah.
Perfect.
Now you can execute it.
And there you go. Good job. And if I wanted to lowest price, I could do min and change this to lowest price. Execute. I got the lowest price and displayed 2.5. Any questions?
Nope.
Sometimes you may need the largest quantity ordered. So order details. Notice this table shows you how many orders were taken. Quantity 12, quantity 10, quantity 40, and let's say you want to find the highest number somebody ordered. For some executive purposes, you wanted to make that get that data so that you can make good decisions about your business. You want the highest. So you have to do the max function for this quantity, all right? So Desmond, can you give me the query to get the highest price for quantity? Desmond, are you there? Maybe stepped away. Any volunteer?
Yeah, I can
Oh yeah, Shobus can do it.
Go ahead, Shobus.
select max parenthesis quantity. from, then from orders. Table name is orders, right?
Order details. It's okay.
Oh, okay.
All right. So 120 is the highest somebody ordered. And Haley, how do I display a different name here instead of max quantity? I want to say the highest order.
You would do select max quantity as the largest.
Largest
Mhm.
order.
Mhm.
And put what kind of bracket?
Oh, the square bracket.
Square bracket around it. Okay. And run. And that got changed to largest order. Okay. Good. All right. Next concept. There are three more that aggregate functions that you need to know about SQL. These are called aggregate functions. All of these are. Anytime you see a parentheses like these are doing some sort of mathematics on it. You may have seen count before. I don't know. I can't remember if I showed you last week. Average, AVG stands for average. Sum stands for sum, you know. So count is going to return the total number of rows that matches a specific condition. Average, in short, AVG, returns the average value of a column. It has to be a numeric column. Otherwise, it's going to give you an error. And sum, meaning total, when you add them all up, add a column up, numeric value has to be a numeric value. So 1 second. All right, so the syntax is select, count, and then put a column name, then whatever we do usually, it's the same from table and where condition. This where is optional. If you want to change that to average, you just change that first part to average, and if you wanted to do a sum, again, you change that first part to a sum. Let's do this first one. Display total number of products from products table. So let's say if I wanted to find out, this is products table, and I wanted to find out how many products are there, okay, which is 77. I know it from here, but if I didn't know that and I wanted to find out how many, I would actually add all this, not the add actual numbers, okay, but I wanted to find out how many rows are there. Adding all this is going to be sum. But if I just wanted to find out how many rows are in there for product ID or how many rows are in there for product name, I'm going to use the keyword called count. So don't get confused with these two because it can be confusing. Watch this. Select count. And if I put in this column name, product ID, it's only going to count how many rows there are. Product ID. Okay. From what table was this? Products. Yeah. Okay. If I execute this query, it's going to tell me 77. I can change the name of this by adding an alias as total number of rows, and run the query. It's going to say total number of rows 77. Now the thing is, I don't have to say product ID. I could say something else. For example, I could even do this with product name. This does not have to do anything to do with numeric value. Watch this. So I can take the same query. Instead of product ID, I can put product name, which is not a numeric column. Again, it doesn't matter. It's not adding anything. It's just going to tell me how many rows are there in this products column. So if I execute total number of rows, it's still going to return the same thing back to me, which is total of 77 rows out there. Are we clear about count function?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, if we go
Yes.
to, thank you. If we go to average and sum, those are two different things. They have to be numeric columns. For example, here's one. Display average price of all products as average price. So I want a column name as average price and take the price and find average of it. So here's products. There's your price. We want to find out what's the average price of all these products. This one is $18. This one is $19. Some are $2. Some are 100 and something. What's our average price? So what you do is go here and type in select. This time you want to find average. So you write AVG, open, close, and which column do you want to find the average of? Price. So we put that price word in the middle. I don't want it to display like this, average price. I want it to display more like a human readable. So let's say average price of products. Okay. Now you have to specify from which column, from which table, products table, and you're done. What's going to do is SQL is going to take all of these, 18, 19, 10, it's going to add them all up and divide it by 77 and give you the answer. And there it is. Average price of products, $28.86. Okay. Same way, if I wanted to find, what's this one? Display total quantity ordered. Okay, display total quantity ordered. Or let's go to order details. Here's one order, 12, there's 10, and there's 5. I want to know this month, all these orders, what was the total for these columns? I want to know how many products total did our company sell. In that case, I need to do the function that's going to add all these, which is sum, S-U-M. Sum means add. So for this table, order details, I'm going to say select sum, open close parentheses, specify the column, quantity. Quantity. I don't want to display it like that. I want to say as total number of products ordered this month. And then say from order details table. Now if I execute the query, there. Total number of products ordered this month, 12,743. It added the column for me with the sum function. This kinds of functions, the sum with the parentheses open, close, and then putting the column name in there, this is what's gonna get your feet wet to Java. And you're gonna see Java operates a whole lot more like this than anything else in the SQL. You're gonna see these parentheses a lot, and we're gonna be putting values in the parentheses. So that's why SQL is like a really awesome thing for you to learn first. And then if you see you're doing very well with this, I can guarantee you, you're gonna do very well with Java. Okay. Any questions so far?
Nope.
All right. Next concept is called wildcard. And this is something that I was asked in my face-to-face interview. I got the job for that particular interview, but I forgot the answer. I was kind of brushing through on wildcards and I didn't practice, so I forgot. The interviewer corrected me. Well, actually gave me the answer, and but I still got the job. So you don't have to know everything, but if you know everything, that's great. Everything that I teach you, if you know 80%, goodness gracious, you're going to be very good for the interviewer. If you know 50%, which I knew, I still got the job. But if you do 80, that would be great. If you know 100%, oh, that's awesome. You might even trump some of the people that are working down there, because a lot of the people that are in this field, they didn't have any institutional knowledge. They learn from one place to the other, all practical knowledge. So anyway, these symbols are called wildcards. Wildcards help us find data if I know a little bit about it. If I don't know an exact data I'm looking for, but I know some numbers in a cell, it should have either few letters there. Yeah, you should be able to figure things out. I'm only gonna show you these first three, and you can get away with this first three. You don't need the other ones, okay? So you should be okay to go. But if you want to learn more, go for the others, and there might be more out there if you want to search online. First one is a percent symbol. Second one is underscore, and the third one is this open close square bracket. The percent symbol will give you, you use it when you don't know the letters that you're looking for. So for example, if you say, I want display data from customers where customer name, and they go hand in hand with this word like, the keyword like. Customer name, you cannot say equal to, you have to say like. And you have to specify something. So let's say if you say A and then write percent, that means the first letter A, and I don't know what the rest of the letter is, but I don't care. Give me everything. Give me everything with customer name starting with the letter A. All right? So percent fills in the gap of our knowledge if we don't know something. Let's do an example. I'll come back to this because I hate talking about concepts. I like real world example. And you're welcome to combine this with and or as well. So we'll see some examples for that. So let's focus on this percent. Here's how it's going to be written. Same. Select column name you want to display. You can display all if you want. From which table. And this is where it's gonna go in. So you have to write where, column name, like is a must. If you're using a wildcard, you must use like. And the wildcard pattern is gonna go into this where it says pattern. Here's first question, and see how we're gonna implement this. Display all records with a customer name starting with A. So let's go here. Here's customers. These guys, their customer name starts with A. I see 4 here. There could be more down there. I don't know. But I want to display all of them. Why? I don't know. Maybe I want all the customers with first name starting with A. Maybe those are my caseload. I need to call them or make some, place some orders or whatever, whatnot. You get the point. So I would say select. Let's say I want to display everything. So select start. You have to specify which table. So from customers. This is where you have to say where, because you're filtering with wildcard. Have to specify the column name is a must. Every time you have a where, you have to specify column. So column name is customer name. Where customer name you cannot say equal to because it's not exact. You can say like, meaning somewhat. And this is not case sensitive. You can actually put lowercase a. So the value starts with a. If you put a percent sign, meaning I don't care what other letters after a, just give me something that starts with a, the customer name that starts with a. Finish it, semicolon, execute the query. Notice we had 91 records. If I execute the query, now I have 4 records. Okay. Question?
Nope.
All right, Haley, with the same idea, if I wanted to display all customers with the customer name ending in E, how would I do that here?
Would it be percent then E? Or, yeah, percent then E?
Correct. So you put the percent before and the letter E at the end. You're saying, I don't care what letter or number of letters come before, but I want it to end with E. Now, if you run the query, 14 records found. Notice this guy with an E, 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 E. Not the first word, by the way, not the first name, but when this name starts all the way when it ends. And that will be that. Any question?
Not so far, no.
All right, here's goes to anybody. What if I wanted to display all customers that have this, I don't know, this PA in the middle, somewhere. PA in the middle. How would I do that?
PA in the middle.
Yeah.
Is that the bracket?
So,
PA.
or let's say, here, this guy starts with Antonio, then he has Moreno, and then Taqueria.
Mm-hmm.
And I forgot his first name and last, and I only remember that the customer I was helping out well, his nickname was Moreno. And how am I gonna find this guy's record from like 2 million records? So
Can you put the percentage sign on both sides?
correct. Yes.
Okay.
So select star from customers where customer name equal or like and because it's value we put it in here. We put the percent symbol first. That means I don't care what comes as a first name, but I know he had this name Moreno, and I don't care what he had last name, so I put this percent at the end. So this percent is going to fill in whatever is in the front and the back, and semicolon to close. Run the query, and I got one record, Antonio Moreno. Okay. What if I wanted something to start with, let's say, A, and, well, let's take a look at this guy. It starts with C and ends with S. Tony, give me that.
Starts with E and ends with S.
Starts with
So
C,
starts with C,
ends with S.
ends with S. So C underscore S. So select, and then from customers where customer name like
Mhm.
quotations, yeah. So going to be C underscore S.
C, percent,
Percent, okay.
S. Not underscore yet.
Not underscore yet, okay.
Yeah.
Could you do an underscore there as well? Or?
Underscore has a different concept, which I'll show you in a minute.
Okay, all right.
But right now we're just going over percent, so don't mix up the two. There's a totally different reason for underscore.
Okay,
But
all right.
you're right. First letter C, in the middle, I don't know what, and I wanted to finish with S. If you do that, you'll get that record. First letter C,
Yeah.
last letter S, and anything in between. Okay, this is a wild card. SQL wildcard. What if I didn't want somebody who had this first letter C and the last letter S? How would I change this statement?
Right after where you put a not.
Here?
Or, yeah.
Okay, let's try that. Correct. Can I put a not over here? Will that work?
It should, or no?
That also works.
Okay.
So if you put a not here, that will change this whole thing as a negative. Or you can say not like, and that also works as a negative for like. So it displayed everything except whoever had this C and a S at the end. That's your percent, guys. And here's underscore. Goes the same way like the percent, but underscore specifies exactly which letter. So it's kind of more specific. Letter position, for example. Take a look at this example. Display all records with the customer name with R in second position. The second position of a customer name is this. Here's the second position. second position. With me so far? Second position. So if I wanted that my second position needs to be displayed as R, then I need to skip the first one and then write what that's going to be. By me skipping the first one, or whatever the first one is going to be, I don't care. But I want the second one to be R. The problem with me using percent for this is percent is not going to take the second one as R. Percent might think that, oh, I want to take all of these, and you got an R right there. Okay, so let me show you both ways. Select star from customers, where if I say customer name, like, if I say percent and then R, and then put a percent maybe, okay? If I did that, I get 70 records. Meaning SQL is thinking, well, you got an R right here. Not on the second one, but anything you said percent, that means anything comes before. This guy had an R, and then anything came before, so I took it. This guy had an R, I took anything before. Not gonna work. So if you take this percent off and put an underscore, shift minus gives you underscore. That means you're telling the SQL that I don't care what the first letter is. One underscore equals one character. So I don't care what the first one is, because this is the first underscore you put, that's the first character. But the second character, I want it to be R. And with this percent, you're saying, and I don't care how many or what the rest of the characters are. If you do it this way and run the query, you have 11 of them. And that's gonna give you every second character R. With me so far?
Yeah, now I understand the difference.
Okay. Let's go a little bit deeper onto this. Display all records with the customer name starts with A and at least 3 letters. Okay, now this one doesn't always work well, so we'll see. At least 3 letters. So it starts with A and has 3 letters. Obviously, if it starts with A, I gotta put A. Yes?
Yeah.
And if I put
double under.
Yeah, if I put percent now, it's not gonna
Give you everything.
Yeah. So if I put an underscore here and another underscore here, okay, so I got the first letter A. Okay, if it's at least, you can go ahead and put a star right there, percent right there. What you're saying is first letter A, second letter, I don't care, and there has to be a third letter. Make sense?
Yeah.
There has to be a third, and it could be more. The percent means one or more. Okay? One or more any character. If I do this query now, I got 4. I got this guy, first letter A, has a second letter, and also these guys. Okay? I just want to show you the difference. If I were to add a customer with AL, L, not gonna show up. So let me insert into customers. Column. Customer name. And that should be all right. It's probably now going to complain about more values. Values L or L. It's the first name. Values syntax error L, one row affected. I have now this customer here. His name is L. And I don't want this customer to be included, okay? So I just want to say display start from customers where customer name like first letter A, second letter I don't know, but must have one more and more than that. I don't want you to include just 2 characters. If I do the query now,
Because I think from where you
yeah,
after from you got to put customer.
correct. Thank you. Customers where 5 records. It's not supposed to show this. This is not working for W3 School. Sorry, guys. But when you have this escape sequence or this underscore, this means first letter, second letter, and it has to have a minimum of third letter. But it should have excluded this one because this only has first and second, and it doesn't have a third one. Let me just, for the heck of it, put another underscore and see if that works for this. Oh, what do you know? It worked now. It's needing you to put double. But logically, for other softwares, it's just, you don't need double. If I put another one, that just means I need 4 characters. Okay, so A, second character, second underscore, third character, third underscore, and %, meaning another letter or anything after that. But anyway, just play with it. For that specificity, it all depends on the software that you're going to be working with. Okay. Any questions about underscore?
No.
Let's do a couple more queries and then be done with it. Here's one. Display all records with a city starts with L, followed by any character, followed by N, followed by any character, followed by ON. So let's see. So display start from customers where like first one starts with L. So if you have a homework question, you do it like this. Starts with L. If it says followed by any character, meaning any one character, you have to use underscore. But if they mean followed by any number of characters, in that case, you can use %. But I know it's followed by any one character, I would say underscore. Then the question says followed by N. So you type in N. You can probably already figure out where we're heading at. followed by any character again, put an underscore, and followed by ON. Can you tell me what city this is going to be?
London.
London. Very good.
All right.
So select star from customers where city, like, L, and then we don't know what this is, N, we don't know what this is, and whatever that is. Search, and we got the city name. Okay. Last one. You do this one. Take a minute.
Select all records.
Display all records for city starts with B, followed by any character, followed by BR, and followed by any number of characters. Let me see if you can put this together. Don't look at the answers. I'm putting a minute on a timer, but if you're done, just holler at me.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay. We'll wait for the others. All right. Any volunteers other than Tony? Who was that? Shobus? Or Desmond?
Yeah.
All right, Shobus, go ahead.
Okay, so select
Uh-huh.
select from customers
Select
where
start.
city like
Where? City? Like?
city like then B underscore BR then percentage.
Was that BR? RL.
Yeah.
RL. B underscore RL and then percent?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the correct answer. So BER Berlin, and you wanted that next letter, I don't know, but the one after that I do know, and then after that I don't care how many letters there are, and it just happens to be Berlin. Got it?
Yep.
All right, few more slides and we're done, and then I'll go over the homework with you for the next class. The last thing I'm going to show you about the wildcard is character list, or this symbol square brackets, which you are used to. But when you use this in wildcard, it acts like the word or, meaning it acts like an or. Okay? Show you how that works. Otherwise, it's just, So suppose display all records with city starting with B, S, or P. If I wanted to kind of survey any one of those guys, I have to use these brackets. And if I use these brackets for the wildcard, then it will either take B, S, or P. Okay, and no comma needed. So watch this. Here's my customers. Suppose I want all customers with starting the first name with B, S, and P. So PQ is right there, P and S. All of these to display. Any one of these. In that case, I would do display star from customers, where customer name, like, quotation and colon. And here, if I want to survey 3 letters, I put it inside open and close square brackets. And in here, I'm going to put B, no comma needed, S, and P. Because SQL is looking for letter by letter, you don't have to put a comma to say, look for these letters. No, he is looking for B first, and then going by next one, and then next one. And then if you want to say whatever comes after, put a %. Search. What's going on here? Maybe this feature doesn't work here. No results
Or
found.
the percent sign.
% sign?
Yeah, messing it up. I don't know.
Maybe. This could be one of those problems that W3 School has.
Okay.
Yeah, there are some glitches in this web application. Let me try a couple of other options. I may not be able to actually demo you this. Yeah, unfortunately, this is one of those. Yeah, sorry, folks. For this W3 School site, this feature is not going to
Okay.
work with this bracket. Just
Good to know that it does.
Just keep that in mind. If you have an interview question, these are some of the queries that you can do. And you can pretty much use it same as what we did before with the like statement and just have those letters there. This one will give you from A, B, and C, anything in between. If you say A and Z, it's going to survey all of it. So you can put a dash in between and specify a range, and that works. If this feature works, you can also put an exclamation mark before. This means no, meaning don't display B, S, or P if that's how it starts. Okay?
Okay.
And also, instead of the no, you can put not like, and that works the same way. Right? So, sorry, I couldn't demo you that, but let's move on to the next concept, and we only have a couple more left. Nested statements within, with the keyword in. Here is the syntax. Nested means we have something inside something. In this particular case, it means a SQL statement. Notice this select statement here. It finishes here. And guess what? It starts another one. There's another select statement. You got 2 select statement, 1 select statement inside another. So nested, whenever you hear the word, that means same statements, one inside another. Okay. Every now and then, you may need to use this idea to do that. Now, it will allow you to be as complicated as you want to be, as you need to make your queries. As long as you do it the right way and you follow the formula, it works, right? What it does
What
is,
is
go ahead.
what is the value of having a nested statement?
The value is more like I want to get one table data and I want that data to manipulate another table. So generally, you are trying to survey, display one table data based on data from another table. So
Okay.
so you are getting a data out of one table, which is a
Mhm.
select statement, and then you want that data to dictate what to display for another table.
Okay.
I'll give you examples and it will start clearing up. And also next week's class is all going to be about two tables. How do we get data out of two tables? And I'll have a different command word for that. I will show you later. So nested statement allows multiple values in where clause. And the where the in word keyword basically stands for or condition. Okay, so how many you can add multiple in here. Okay, but we're not going to go into too much. I'm just going to show you one of these right here. So let's take a look at this question. Display all records of customers residing in the same country as the suppliers. So let's take a look at it. What does that mean? Here's customers. Notice these customers, they're from different countries: Germany, Mexico, United Kingdom, France, Spain, USA. And if I go to suppliers table, these guys are supplying the product. Look where they are located. Also UK, USA, Spain, Japan, United Kingdom. The question is asking, give me all the customers that are same as the list of suppliers. Okay, meaning if I don't have a customer in Japan, don't give me that. I just want to know how many and which customers are mainly located in the same country where our suppliers are. Why would I need that data? Well, it could be that I want to give a discount for customers that are needing a product for UK and lives in UK, because the shipping is going to be it's going to cost less. Okay, I don't know, I'm just making this up, but a lot of these executives, they need these complex data so that they can make some business decisions, right? So for our case, I need to survey my customers, this customers table, based on the country the suppliers are. So first, I need to get a list of customers, countries, okay? So why don't I do this? Why don't I get a list and see how I can get a list, okay? So somebody tell me, what SQL query do I need to write so that it displays the names of these countries in suppliers table? And anybody?
Select country from suppliers.
Correct. Okay, if I do that, what do I have?
All of the countries that are supply product.
Yes. But do I have a duplicate?
Yes. So you got to distinct.
Good job. Where?
So is it select distinct
Correct.
country from supplier?
Correct.
Yeah.
select distinct country from suppliers, and if I run that now, look at, we got 29 records. Run this query. Now I got 17. It's not gonna give me duplicates. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, this query is the same as this data. Okay. So try to understand this first slowly. Take it slow. This query is nothing but this data with a comma in between them. All right. Now I'm going to copy this and store it in my WordPad, Notepad for now, and explain this in a second. So I stored it. Let me go to customers. Well, I know that if I wanted to display customers with, let's say, Germany, Mexico, and UK, somebody give me a query to display all customers, all data who reside in Germany, Mexico, and UK.
You gotta do it.
How about you?
Germany, what? Germany?
So
what is
display
the city?
all data for customers
Mhm.
that live in Germany, Mexico, and UK.
Oh, okay. So select star from customer
Good.
where city
Country.
country, sorry, country equal to country like
Not like in,
country in
and then open, close,
uh,
and
yeah,
inside.
okay.
What do I
Yeah.
write?
Germany,
With parentheses, right?
Yeah.
Because it's a value. And then comma.
comma Mexico,
Okay.
and then comma France. What? Yeah, UK.
Okay. Yeah. So with the in clause, I'm able to put multiple values, and all the in is going to look at it like or, either Germany or Mexico or UK. And if I execute this query, it's going to display only those. Any question in here?
No.
Clear? Okay. Now, do you remember the other query that we did that gave us the list of suppliers?
Yeah.
I can just delete this part right here. So watch with me right here. I may lose some of you. So I can, instead of me writing Germany, Mexico, and UK, I can just take this off. And if I took that other query that I had, which was this part right there, guess what's happening? This select distinct country from suppliers, that's also the same as list of countries that's gonna go in here. I don't really know what are those countries are, but I don't care. That select statement that's highlighted, it's going to give me the list of countries right there for this in operator to go through every one of those countries and display the customer records for me. With me so far?
Mhm.
So if I execute this query, SQL went into this first. Always
Yeah.
in a nested statement, SQL jumps into the deep down inside query first. So SQL is not gonna go here first. SQL saw there's two select statement, and he's gonna go one deep inside, and that's the deep inside statement. So he's going to go in and query this first. Once this has been queried, he's going to find the list of countries from suppliers.
Can you have like double nested statements and as far as you want to go? In theory.
Yes, and that means you can put a comma here and have another select. Okay, or here's, you can say country in, you got that, right? You can
Yeah.
also have, say, city in, and you can have another like this with city from suppliers. And I didn't put and. With me so far?
Yeah.
That means you can add as many as you want. If it's logical, it's going to return some data. This particular case, it may not make any sense and it may not return anything. I just want to, out of curiosity, let me see if I get something. Well, what do you know?
It's kind of
We did get something, but we got 8 records. 8 records of customers that share the same country as the suppliers, and customers and the same city as the suppliers. Okay.
okay.
Now, if I put or, that's gonna capture a lot more. If I do the SQL query, now I got 69. Either same country they're from, or same city. Okay. Now, if I take this out, go back to the original question and do that, I still got 69. So that is the maximum records that's out there, maximum customers. These guys, they share the same country as the suppliers. Okay. Any question about nested statement?
No, just
Okay.
trying to understand.
All right. It's going to take a little practice, and there's a homework there for you to do, so that will help you brainstorm this through for another situation. Now, wouldn't it be nice? This takes us to our next concept. Wouldn't it be nice if all the Germany was displayed together?
Yeah.
All the United Kingdom was displayed together, so I know which customers are in Germany that share the same as the suppliers. So maybe for those guys, I can give a shipping discount because I have a supplier there. That comes to the idea called group by. So we're going to look at that shortly. Let's go back in here. So group by, this is a typo. I need to change that. So don't read that. It's not deleting any record. But it groups rows with same values into a summary row. It's not going to display the name of the customers, but it's going to tell me how many rows are there. There's another way to do that. I'll show you next week. And
Could you also sort by?
use several aggregate functions to group things. You do have to use some of these like count, max. Well, actually, you know what? Let me try without count. Let's try this. We're just going to say group by, and then the syntax is you have to mention which column. Forgot to write syntax. So let's say if I wanted to group this by country, it's simple. All you write is group by. And you give it a column name. Country. Should work. Nah, didn't work. See what
I
happened?
got confused.
Yeah, it's not taking it. So you have to use the other syntax, which I'm about to show you. So it took off Germany and other things, and I don't know how.
And I understood.
Was there a question? Okay.
We can use this
Uh,
sort by or something.
You can use sort by and that will work. So it's not sort, but what do we say? Order,
Order
order by. Let's try that. Good
order
suggestion.
by. I guess it doesn't really matter.
Order
It's
by,
descending or ascending, but either way.
order by country.
Country,
Either ascending or
then-
descending, right? Yeah, that might
Uh-huh.
work. So let's say ascending, but you don't have to write ascending. Hey, awesome. Good suggestion. Thank you. Look, all the Brazils got displayed first. So group by doesn't work here without the aggregate function. But we got Canada together, Denmark. We could even do descending. And we got the USA first here. All right. UK. Okay. Now, what if I wanted to just find out how many USA folks are there that match up with the same country as a supplier? How many UK? How many Sweden? In that case, what you have to do is use that group by. Okay. So the group by, usually order by is the last thing you want to add. Okay, the sequence matters. So order by comes last, and then limit is the even like the last thing. So I don't know if this is gonna work. Let me just, for the fun of it, limit 10. It works. So limit is the very last thing you want to add, but I don't want to do that. But what if I don't want to see all the customers? I want to know how many USA customers matching suppliers. What you have to do is you have to go in here, and instead of selecting everything, you have to specify which columns. All right. And you have to find a count of which columns. So two things are going to go together. One is a matching column, same value into group rows with same value. So which one do you want to group? It's up to you. Doesn't really matter, but you have to use this called count, max, min, or sum. We're just going to do count this time. So I want to count this country column. If you want to count, it's going to count from here all the way how many, and display it for you. So this is a bit tricky, so I'm going to go slow. I want to bring this from down here so you can easily understand what's going on. Select, this is where I'm going to display the columns. Let's say all I need to display is customer ID, and country. Okay. Customer ID and country, but customer ID is just going to tell me how many customers are there. That's all. So I'm going to modify this I'm gonna play with it and modify it so that it becomes visible, and I want to take it slow. So first, count.
Yeah.
Count customer ID for me. This is not gonna add these customer ID numbers. It's not. It's only gonna give me the number of customer IDs are there. And I want you to display country. Okay? Now, because I wanted to group by, if I did it like this right now, it doesn't do much, right? It's not doing well. It's counting it, but doesn't know how to display things. But I have to add order by, group by. So if I say group by, and it has to go before ordering, group by, and here, if I have to say which column, and if I specify the country column, and now do the search, and this gives me what I want. USA, these are all supplier countries. Spain, Norway. It skipped out all the countries that suppliers don't live in. So all of these countries are supplier list of countries. But I have 13 customers in USA. With me so far?
Yep.
Only one customer in Norway. So I know that these guys, I can probably do a discount for these guys, and maybe one customer, forget it. We're not even going to advertise a discount. Something like that. I don't like this count customer ID because this really doesn't make any sense. Why am I going to count customer ID? This is number of customers. So I want to change this to number of customers. See how we're spiraling back?
Yeah.
There is that column. And if I go in here and say as, open close bracket, number of customers, this count customer ID is going to get replaced by number of customers. Run it, and there you go. Okay. Pop quiz. What if I wanted to see the highest first and then in descending order here?
Highest first in descending order.
Yeah. What do I have to change here?
Your order by country, you had to do order by customer ID.
Correct. Order by customer ID. Because this is where I'm aggregating this. This is where the SQL was adding all the customer ID. Then I have to change this to customer ID. And if I say descending, that means highest first and then smallest last. If I execute the query now,
No, you need to put customer ID. Order by you.
yeah, you're right, Shobus. Sorry. Customer ID. That's right. Exactly same thing I have here. By the way, when you double click, it highlights the whole thing. Double click saves me a lot of time. And I double click on this, Control V to paste it, and there you go. And now if I do the query, I got still customer ID.
Yeah, I think the problem was because when you order by customer ID, it's still that number that you had was a sum.
Yeah.
Of all countries, so that's what I was thinking. It shouldn't be that straightforward.
I guess it doesn't work, but there is a way to fix this one as well. I don't want to go there right now. I thought this might be an easy
Yeah.
way, but I want you to understand.
Yeah.
I can change this to country as well. It wouldn't matter because it's only adding how many rows in the country.
Mhm.
I will get the same thing, but I do have to make sure that. Okay, let me just go back and change this to country. Okay, and this to group by country, order by country. All right, this was customer ID. So let me go back to the original. I got this. And it doesn't have to be customer ID. I could be counting by country as well. And that would still give me the same result. I could be counting by customer name. That would still give me same result. Because it's really not adding any customer name. It's just counting how many customers are there. It's just going to add the rows. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you can play around with it and make it work for you. All right. Some things work, some things don't. And it's just this W3 School is not perfect. One last thing and we're done. And that's called having. And now it's gonna put a lot of things on it. The reason for having is where condition does not accommodate aggregate functions. Meaning, if I had a where somewhere, like this where clause, you won't be able to use this count argument with the where clause. Sometimes you need to. So SQL developer said, then let's make something called having, and that will only be used for the aggregate functions like count. If I wanted to add another condition here, count or average. Okay, so you will see this is happening here. So having clause acts like a where clause. The difference is having clause will allow you to use aggregate functions such as what we saw: count, max, min, sum, average. There's more, but these 5 are the most important ones. You can't use aggregate functions like count, max, min, sum, and average with a where clause. You have to use it with the having clause. Here's the syntax. We know that first thing we have to say is select, and then we have the column names. Second is from, and then we specify which table. Then we can have a where, and we specify condition. But this condition cannot have aggregate functions such as count, min, max, sum. We can then group it by a certain column name. And now if I wanted to have some sort of another condition, I cannot have another where statement here. You cannot have a duplicate where statement. And even if you had one, you wouldn't be able to use this aggregate function. So for that, you have to use having. And then for having condition, you can use these sum, min, max functions. And then you can follow that by order by that we learned. Order by goes at the very last. This sequence matters. If you break this sequence, it's not going to work. Let's take a look at a real world example and we're done after this. Display number of customers in each country to only include countries with more than 5 customers. Okay, so we're gonna take this piece by piece. This This is complex, okay, guys? It really requires a lot of play around to come up with the answer. Nobody's expected to answer this on the spot. So display number of customers in each country, okay? So let's think about this for a second. First part, display number of customers in each country. So let's take a look at this. Here's our table. I want Germany, how many customers? I want Mexico, how many customers? I want UK, how many customers? So guys, who wants to take a shot at it? We already know how to do this.
Select customer ID, and then comma country.
Good.
From customers.
Okay, let's say this is a baby step, okay? Let's take baby steps. So we got, if I did that, look, I'm almost there. I got customer ID, and I got Germany, Mexico, Germany, but they're not organized.
Yeah,
How can I organize them?
by grouping.
Okay, so group.
So group by country.
Good job. Baby step. Do we have it grouped by country now?
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
It actually didn't work well.
Yeah, it didn't group by. It grouped by and told you how many. Maybe order by.
Yes, let's do order by. Yeah.
Yeah, that was better.
So we got Argentina, and there's 3 customers. There's Austria. We got 2 customers. So far, so good, right?
Yeah.
Let's go back to our question. Display number of customers in each country. It's definitely giving me each country right here, and I can look at it and say there's 1, 2, and 3, but they're asking.
So grouping.
Yeah. They're asking me to tell me how many. They don't want you to just display it like that. They want you to just one row tell me 3.
Yeah.
So you have to aggregate these. Okay? You have to aggregate this, meaning some function that's going to add 1, 2, and 3. Which function adds the columns? Add the rows. Only the rows, not the data inside the row. This is really kicking it, guys. I know. I'm really quizzing you on everything I taught today. Which aggregate function only adds the rows, number of rows?
Sum.
Sum will add the value.
Count.
Count, correct. Sum will add 12 plus 54 plus 64. We don't want that. We know there's 3 customers, 3 records showed up.
Mm-hmm.
These are the customer ID numbers for those customers. I want the count function to just add 1, 2, and 3. That's it. Okay. So where do I put that?
So you got to put having. You got to put after customers. So select customer ID country from customers after the from statement.
In this case, you want to add these guys, this customer ID at the very top right there.
Oh, okay.
So this is the customer ID.
So count customer ID.
So if I just say count and put this customer ID in the parentheses, now it's not gonna display the customer ID, but it's gonna display the count of customer IDs. Understand?
Yeah.
Remember, we're trying to manipulate how it display. The display statement of columns goes right there. With me? Everything else, it doesn't, it modifies how, it probably filters things, but doesn't affect how it's going to display. So if I wanted it to display only the count, not the customer IDs, but the count for the customer IDs, then I have to put it where the select statement is. This is where the tricky part is. This is advanced level, okay? If you are here and you're manipulating and you're thinking in this level, you are in advanced level. All right, now run the SQL query. And it's giving me that maybe this order by will come back later. Just not working.
If you took out the count,
We're gonna do group by now. Let's see.
yeah. I think group by was giving us that information.
Yeah. Group by country.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. That's gonna work. We got Argentina, and then we got 3. Austria, we got 2. Belgium, we got 2 people. Brazil, 9. I want to see USA. USA, remember we had 13 people? We
Yeah.
still have 13. So the data is. Go ahead.
When you do group by and then country, the default is ascending order.
Looks like it.
So could you put descending in a group by? Does that work? Does that do anything? Okay, no.
Gives me an error.
Okay.
What if you wanted to do that, what if I did order by,
Order by descending.
Yeah.
let's see if that works. Remember, order by comes after group by, towards the very end.
Order by country.
Country descending. It works.
Boom.
So USA first. All right. So we got some part of the question, okay? The part of the question was display number of customers in each country. Notice that we have Venezuela, we have 4 people. USA, we got 13. So we got the first part done. Now let's look at it. It's the last part. To only include countries with more than 5 customers. All right. Which countries have more than 5 customers?
1 or just 2.
USA,
and
UK.
Right. And then you got
Germany.
Germany, France. So for some reason, you don't want to display these guys. Like Poland, Norway, Mexico is still borderline, has 5 customers, but we wanted more than 5 customers. So look, I can't say where.
So after from customers having more than signed 5.
You know, maybe we can do this. Maybe we can do this with the where. Let's try. So from customers. SQL will get confused because SQL will want that where clause after the grouping, because see, it has been grouped. SQL wants to group it first, then do a so, but where clause, my where clause is going to come right here. I cannot put a where clause down here because there is a sequence for it. So if I said where this guy count customer ID, okay. Again, notice that I am using count with a where Am I allowed to do that?
No.
No. Count is an aggregate function. I cannot use count with the where. So I'm not even gonna go there. But if I did, I would say count customer ID greater than 5. So give me that, don't give me that. So I could say where count the whole thing, customer, and then put greater than 5. And if I do a run, it's gonna give me an error.
So if we just
Misuse,
train it,
yeah, it's telling me misuse of aggregate function, meaning count. That means I'm not supposed to use this count statement with the where statement.
cool.
So I have to revamp this whole thing. And I have to go after this group by. After, as a matter of fact, the SQL will understand even better, because after SQL does this, then he's going to be like, oh, you just want more than 5. So 13 is more than 5 and 7 is more than 5. If I place it before it has been grouped, SQL might get confused. So here, if I wanted to add something like a where statement, but I want to use aggregate function like the count, I have to use the word aggregate. Now I take this whole column, either that one or that one, copy that, paste it here. I want that to be greater 5. And then if I hit the run the query, there you have it.
That's complex.
But it's doable, right?
Yeah, if you take it in like small baby steps and don't overwhelm yourself with the entire statement, then it's definitely doable.
Absolutely. And you have to be patient with this. The key is patience. And you read the question. I'm sure you've seen this in the high school mathematics where you break down the question into smaller chunks, where you have to come up with some algebra for writing a real world scenario. A whole lot of questions like that in a tax test.
Yeah, I was taking a logic class in college, and logic is very much like this. It has to logically make sense, otherwise it won't be the right statement.
Yes, and in software engineering, these kinds of analytical minds are a necessity. So if I want you to practice through this, and there's a homework questions similar to this one, maybe the very last ones. Practice, take a baby step and do it one little piece at a time and keep adding on it. And always hit the run SQL to check, make sure you didn't make any mistake before you put the next word in. And you should be able to do this, okay? Even if you are unable, I don't want you to be distracted or feel like, oh no, I'm not worthy of. Folks, I've worked with many students, and you're not gonna believe, I had students that had maybe 20% of the intelligence you have, because I know how much intelligence you have. I've been working with you for a while. 20% of what you have, and with their zeal and persistence and hard work, some of those students are making more money than me. It's all matter of luck in what kind of job you get into, and then later on for your survival, it depends on how hard you want to try and how much effort you want to put in. So don't undermine your intelligence at all in any step of this way. Homework. There's a lot of questions, folks. I'm sorry. There's 30 questions, but this is gonna combine your last week's knowledge and what you learned this week. A lot of these are gonna be very easy things that you saw last week. and 1 or 2 questions are gonna go deep into complexities, and I don't know. I may have even forgotten to put something that complex. Maybe I probably don't have an example, or maybe I do. Don't know. But anyway, this is your homework. It's also available in your Google Classroom. So here it is. If you go to the classroom and go to classwork, you're going to see it under database management. It's going to say insert, update, delete. If you open that up, your homework question is here. Do it the same way, folks. Copy this into a Google Doc and place your homework answers, but make sure you practice those answers on W3 School, and it gives you a result, and then you copy paste it in here and submit. If you do it before Friday, I think Saturday morning is my best time to grade these papers, and I can give you feedback. We're not gonna go over homeworks in class, hopefully not anymore. I will give you feedback this way, and if you have any questions, you can stay after class today, for example, and I can go over some questions. But I think this was pretty easy. But sometimes when we get into programming code and stuff, and yours not working, and you may have some mistakes, you want me to debug those homework stuff, what we'll do is we'll let the class leave, and then after the class, I will debug your code going into your laptop and trying to make things work. So we'll use the class time that way. Okay. Really appreciate it. Any questions before we end the class?
No, thank you for class.
All right. Awesome. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend, and hope to see you next Sunday.
Okay.
All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.